Nervous?
Yes.
First time?
No, I've been nervous lots of times.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and sit back and relax because today we're going to tell you some stories about the origin of money. How did it all start and what does the future hold? Here to enlighten us, we welcome the author of The Money Plot, A History of Currency's Power to Enchant, Control, and Manipulate, Fred Kaufman. Plus, do you have access to flex savings accounts or FSAs? Today, during our headline segment, we'll talk about important year-end moves you need to make with Sean Hanft from FSAstore.com. Ha! Wonder how many millions they paid a consultant for that quirky name. And, like icing on the cake, we'll toss out the Haven Lifeline to Matt, who has a question about the 4% rule. How should you think about withdrawing from your investments during retirement? And, of course, I'll do my thing and share some trivia. And now, two guys who can share stories about money mistakes with the best of them. It's Joe and O-G.
I think it's always way more fun to talk mistakes than it is to brag, get all braggadocious. Hey, everybody, welcome to a glorious Wednesday. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter, and across the card table from me, speaking of braggadocious, it's the one and only OG.
I was going to say, it's a fancy card table now. It goes up and down.
I know. How about that?
You have a motorized card table.
All right, check this up. We have to. Look at that.
Pressing the wrong button.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go down, up, up, up. This is, by the way, what the thing going up my stairs is going to do later. Now that I'm 80.
I was going to say, you got one of those little chairs that you can sit on that, like you just ride up like a roller coaster.
It's perfect, isn't it?
I know.
Check that out. We're standing at the card table.
We're standing at the card table. It gives us more energy. That's what they say.
Really? How can we get more energy than what we have now? You know why? Because we got Fred Kaufman coming here. We don't need more energy, dude. We got it.
Okay. Then I'll dial it back a little bit.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Dial it back. Dial it back, Joe.
We got a fantastic show. We also have lots of cool stuff coming up here at year end. If you want to be the first to know, subscribe to the Stacker. That's stackingbenjamins.com/stacker. You'll not only get in on all of the fun when it comes to things happening here in the basement, but you'll also get Joe's money lessons. We got a great show today. Fred Kaufman talking about the history of money. And what a fascinating read his book was. I can't wait to talk to him. But first, we got a couple great headlines. So let's get this party started.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
Our first headline comes to us from Business Insider. By the way, thanks to our friend Kurt, who hangs out at our basement Facebook group. He brought this one to my attention, and I thought that this is something we should all be talking about. Piece is written by Jen Glantz. I opened a 401k to start saving for retirement at 26, and it was a huge mistake for 3 reasons. Whenever anybody says, oh, gee, that they started a retirement plan and then decided it was a mistake, okay, I'm clicking that thing.
It's always a mistake to start saving for your retirement. I mean, if you do, then you can't do other stuff like spend money frivolously, which is way more fun than saving.
Which is what makes it a huge mistake. Yeah, don't do it. I'm just going to go over Jen's big points here at the top. In my 20s, I thought a 401k was my only option to save for retirement, so I opened one.
Okay, false, but let's go with that one. It's the only one. I don't agree, but what else?
Here's the thing, though. I mean, let's just stop at that one. Even if there are other ones, not even half, maybe even more than that, OG, of your success rate is based on behavior, right? And if you've got
90%
a 401k,
statistically, they've actually already done the study on this, right?
90%?
Yeah, it's all about asset classes, right? All the other stuff that we try to get into, fees and how much diversification, and did you buy Tesla at the right spot, and all that sort of stuff. Did you pick Ford over GM? All that accounts for less than 10% of your investment results. 90% is, did you just own something that's reasonably close to a stock? Like that's 90% of it. The other 10 is all the icing on the cake.
I can't tell you the number of times when I was a financial advisor that I would meet with somebody who'd accumulated a nice amount of money despite the fact that they were in the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Because they'd done one thing correctly, they saved.
They did it. Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So 401k, there are other options available, not just to Jen, but to everybody listening. You've got a lot of different ways you can save. 401k, which is your company's plan, not the only way that you can save, but it sure is the easiest one, OG. All you do is just mark a little thing on a form with HR and it's magically gone before you even get your check. That's great.
Yep. It's like Lucky Charms. Magically delicious.
No, number two, you had me at Lucky Charms, so I was done, but you're right. Magically delicious.
They are.
Number two, I didn't realize my employer didn't match contributions at all and that I could have opened a lower fee IRA instead. And now I'm going to ram my head into my computer screen.
Would you like a pencil to shove in your ear?
I don't get it. So here's what I got. I got this easy thing at work that I'm going to do. Yeah, they don't match. Instead, I'm going to make it more difficult and I'm going to put money in an IRA. Now, if Jen is eligible, she might be able to use an IRA. And as long as she has that money, maybe direct deposit into her IRA from her paycheck, OG, she can still do the same thing. And then I go, okay, nice job. As long as she makes it automatic.
Sure, except she probably also can't, because if you have access to a workplace plan and you want to do a traditional IRA, you don't get a tax deduction for that unless you meet some other very particular circumstances like income limits and that sort of thing. So the vast majority of people who try this are going to find out at tax time, oh yeah, none of that counts. So it's going to blow up in your face.
So then to back up, Jen didn't know that there were other options available. When she did, all she did was looked at the fees and the fact that they don't match and decided that doing the easy thing at work was worse than doing something that was going to be much harder behaviorally to get done.
Yeah.
Number three. And by the way, what do you think about the match? What's your thought about the match?
If I'm getting it, I like it a lot. If I'm writing the check, I'm like, 50-50.
What's it talking about business ownership there?
I mean, depends on who's getting it, I guess, or giving it at the moment. As I'm calculating year-end profit sharing contributions in the workplace plans, I'm like, I don't know if there's a lot of profit actually. So here's the thing. You have to have some sort of, that's one of the incentives, right? The incentive of the workplace plan is that you put in a little bit and the company gives you a little bit in most circumstances. In some circumstances, they don't. And we've heard that this year where a lot of companies have said, we're suspending the matching contributions because of, the COVID issue and unforeseen business issues with that. So if you have an option of a workplace plan, even if it doesn't come with a company match, I think you still have to use it because they can reinstate that at any moment. And by the way, there's a little thing called profit sharing at the end of the year. And maybe your company doesn't do a match, but they have some profits at the end of the year and they say, yeah, okay, we're going to do this. My wife's company, she worked for this great consulting firm. And every year they would put some of her bonus in her 401k. As a company match. Like that's how they would figure it out. It'd be basically a profit sharing contribution. It wasn't anything monthly or quarterly that they matched. It was on her to put that money in and then they would give her money on top of it. So I think you're kind of foolish if you use they don't match, so I'm not going to put any money in. They could change that at a moment's notice.
But even if they don't, I go back to the behavior of just doing the easy thing. And I think the match is icing on the cake. It is icing on the cake. It's huge icing, right? It's a free return.
Yeah.
But looking at the fee on your 401k versus taking that money and making it really hard for yourself to get it invested, I just don't see people win that way. I just don't. I feel like in this case, Jen is trying to make perfect the enemy of good and done.
Yeah. Concur.
Next thing, Jen says,
Oh, we're still on this. Okay, great.
I didn't contribute much anyway. And when I forgot about the account after leaving that job, I realized I probably shouldn't have opened it in the first place.
So your inability to keep track of your money is all of a sudden
makes it a mistake to open it in the first place.
That actually makes the point, right? Isn't the point you are supposed to forget about it? Because if it was automated, then you would have this nice pool of money that's accumulating that you're not thinking about.
And then she says, a 401k is a useful tool for many people to save for retirement, but it wasn't the best choice for me at the time. I don't understand.
Somebody had an article somebody had to write and was out of ideas.
I do understand that the 401k might be a high fee plan, right?
Yeah.
I understand that an IRA might have lower fees, but I have to counter that against behaviorally. What am I going to get done and what am I not going to get done? Because the thing that I always want to do is the thing that's going to get done.
Barking up the wrong tree, brother.
I am, or she is.
You are. I mean, I agree with you. I'm just saying that it's impossible to prove a behavioral issue.
It is.
Because no one makes those mistakes, right?
Yes.
No one makes a behavior mistake. That other guy does. The guy across the street. He's the one that makes all the mistakes always. You know, the other average person. I am Lake Wobegon, where everyone is above average. And I don't make those mistakes. And
then you look at the law of large numbers and you realize that somebody's a liar.
Somebody. Like our friend George Carlin said, you and I listened to last week. Think about how dumb the average person is and just remember that half the people are dumber than that.
I would have loved to.
You got to trick yourself, man. You got to trick yourself. You have to figure out a way to trick yourself into winning.
I would have loved to have played that on the show, but there was so much swearing and that we would have beeped out half of that. But that was so funny. Well, if you have FSA dollars, you want to pay attention now because this year, especially with COVID, there are a lot of ways that you can use your FSA dollars and you may not know. You need to get rid of these before December 31st. So here to help us talk about all the different ways that you can spend those important FSA dollars, Sean Hanft from FSA Store joins us on My Dad's Shortwave Radio. How are you, Sean?
Good, Joe. Thanks so much for having me.
You're holding up then well during COVID.
Yeah, doing the best we can. We're based in New York City. I mean, we definitely bore the brunt of the pandemic early on, but, people have really come together here and it's definitely been a total community response to really kind of fight back against this thing.
Now, you guys at FSA Store, you know this better than most people. A lot of people say bye-bye to dollars at the end of the year because they forget to spend them, right? What can we spend these dollars on? If I'm sitting on a bunch of FSA money, what should I be thinking about this year?
2020 has been unique on many levels, but in terms of how FSA users have used their accounts over the course of this year, it's really changed dramatically. Most people didn't have a chance to go to doctor's appointments during the summer and early spring. Elective surgeries were off the table. A lot of expected medical expenses that people were going to go through with just kind of fell off the radar for them. So based on our own research of our customers, over half of people, of FSA users who came to shop with us last year have more money to spend this deadline season than they did last year. So
sure.
There's a big surplus of excess funds out there and people really need to find responsible ways to spend it. So I would say there were two really big developments on the FSA front this year. The CARES Act, which was essentially our COVID relief package that the government passed, included two new product categories for FSA spending: over-the-counter medications and feminine care products. So since 2010, FSA users had to obtain a prescription to purchase things like Advil, Tylenol, Benadryl, but that requirement has been completely removed. So now they can purchase over-the-counter medicines with no restrictions.
Boy, that could potentially, for some people that have recurring headaches, I know my wife has recurring headaches a lot, those dollars could add up, Sean.
Yeah, I'm a migraine sufferer myself, so I'm reaching for Advil probably once a month. So it's definitely handy on that side. One of the bigger victories this year has been feminine care products. So this is a brand new addition to product eligibility under FSAs and HSAs. And it includes tampons, period underwear, menstrual cups, really just kind of the full spectrum of products there. So the silver lining of 2020, if we can find something, is that FSAs really became a lot more versatile and beneficial for people's bottom lines this year.
I want to get back to some more things that people can spend their money on here at the end of the year that might surprise them. But to your point about, this year-end deadline, I know that for some FSAs, they've become more flexible. Do you think we're going to see that trend continue, Sean? Are we going to see FSAs act maybe a little more like HSAs where we can roll them over from year to year?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. There's another change on that front this year is in terms of deadline extensions. So when an employer sets up an FSA program for their company, they have the option of including deadline extensions when they set it up. So they can include one, but not both, of either a 2.5-month grace period, which if your deadline comes on December 31st, it would be extended until March 15th, or there is the rollover. So people whose employers have elected to institute a FSA rollover, they can move up to $550 into next year's account. And that money does not count against your contribution limit. So the contribution limit for 2021 is for FSAs is $2,750. So I can't do math very well. That would add another 500. I was not going to pull that number out of my head really quickly. But, effectively that allows you to add another $550 on top of that. So I would say, I don't have the numbers offhand, but the adoption of rollovers has increased over the past few years. I would say probably around 40% of employers have that. And, grace periods have also grown as well. So there's definitely more flexibility in terms of how people can work around their deadlines. But we really just recommend that people who have FSAs, speak with their HR departments to stay on top of when their deadlines are, if any changes happen over the course of the year, that they can be proactive about those.
With back to things that you can spend that money on, though, but my son and I just went and got flu shots last week. And on your list of things that you can spend this on, in a year with COVID, the last thing I want to get is the flu and be, subject to maybe COVID. I mean, it could be a mess. You can go get your flu shot.
Yeah, flu shots are a covered expense. If you haven't gotten one already, and there's a cost associated with it, your FSA can cover that. I would say in terms of end of year spending, we've heard a lot about how bad this flu season could be. So a whole manner of cold and flu products are eligible under FSA regulations, like thermometers, the aforementioned over-the-counter medicines, nasal irrigation kits, kind of like saltwater treatments if you have congestion, nebulizers, kind of like steam inhalers. So really just a whole manner of different cold and flu products. We've actually recently started selling at-home COVID tests. That's a COVID testing and treatment was during the first round of kind of like COVID response to this pandemic. They made COVID treatment and testing covered under insurance plans. But for people who live in rural areas or anywhere that doesn't have very widely available testing set up, at-home COVID tests are really a great option. And the one that we sell uses a saliva sampling and a prepaid shipping label. So it makes it really easy. If people are traveling around the holidays and really just want to be extra safe if they're going to be gathering with people, they have a testing option available that's covered by their FSA.
If people want a full list of all the things that are available via FSA, I assume a place where people could go. I bet they could probably go to FSAstore.com. Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely a great place to start. We have a really helpful tool on our site called our eligibility list, which allows people to look up medical products and services and their eligibility status. And it also includes products and services that fall outside of that, just so, if you are looking up a product or service, there's a good chance that you'll be able to find it there, whether it's eligible or not. So I think that would be a really good place to start. We are shifting to a full deadline mode on FSA Store just to really help people, guide them towards the products that are going to be really helpful to support their health and wellness in the coming year, manage a medical condition. So really, I think that would be a great place to start. Yeah.
If people are out walking the dog, by the way, we'll have the link to FSA Store on our show notes page, everybody, at stackingbenjamins.com. Sean, thanks for helping us out in this really weird year. Make sure we do the right thing with our FSA money. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I've only kind of scratched the surface in terms of products here. I mean, there's things like sunscreen, baby and mom products, first aid kits, diagnostic products. You can even buy prescription glasses and
glasses,
sunglasses as well. So, and contact lenses for that matter.
Well, and I always feel like at the end of the year, Cheryl loads up on her contact lenses and I go get my next prescription of some sexy specs. So
it's a perfect time of year to do it.
Big thanks to Sean for calling in. Flex savings accounts, man, get on it.
TikTok.
Got only a couple weeks.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to use up all that grace period into the first of the year. Just kind of know where you stand right now. You got a few weeks to knock it out.
Hey, something else I like doing at the end of the year, OG, is lowering my insurance cost. Do you want to rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing too, because you already have so much to do around your home, especially during the holiday season. Go to geico.com, get a quote, see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Well, something else that's easy is our takeaways today here. I think takeaway number one is get that flex spending account taken care of by the end of the year. Don't lose that money. And if you've got the grace period in your plan, you got a little extra time, but just get that done. And then I think our second takeaway, think about your behavior, not just about fees. If you're going to invest, know yourself and make it easy. Press the easy button, OG.
Trick yourself into winning.
Hey, and before I introduce our next guest, for people new to the show, I'm not saying to ignore your fees, by the way. Fees are important. We just always see people put fees before behavior. Certainly, if Jen has two choices inside her 401k that pretty much do the same thing, and one is less expensive than the other, choose the less expensive one. But the first thing Jen needs to do is to save some money and figure out how you're going to get some money saved. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get on to something super fun. Fred Kaufman, for the past decade, has focused his attention on the fiction that is money. And he's going to talk, and in his book, he talks a lot, OG, about how money really only has meaning because we give it meaning, and gets very philosophical about where this starts. So we're going to ask him some questions about the history of money. Fascinating topics here. If you're somebody that just likes nerding out on how the concept of money is built and where historically money faltered and different types of currency, Fred Kaufman is the guy. We wanted to have him on the show because he's a fantastic storyteller, and his unorthodox insights into Wall Street have been all over the place, from Scientific American to Wired to Harper's, as well as TV appearances on NBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, and Democracy Now! He speaks all over the world about money, and today I'm sure he's prouder than ever because he's coming to Mom's Basement. Let's say hello to Fred Kaufman. And on my dad's shortwave radio, it's my new friend, Fred Kaufman. How are you, man?
I'm great. Thanks so much.
Well, I have to tell you, I had so much fun reading through the stories in the book, but I want to preface this whole discussion around you really challenge just the basic fundamental idea of money, Fred, just the fact that like money is just a symbol. Let's start there. Where did you come up with this idea to even look behind the mask of money?
You know, it's one of those cliches that money is a fiction. And I think maybe my only strength as a writer is I am very literal. And so when my economist friends, I live in New York, and so there's a lot of banker people hanging out, money is a fiction. I'm like, well, I'm an English professor. We know how fiction works. That's what we study. And so I was like, well, maybe that's true. And if it were true, then of course, English professors are more expert than the bankers. We know more about metaphor. We know more about plots and characters and reversals and this sort of thing. And so I started looking at it like, how might money actually be some sort of a fiction? Why would that happen? It was really uncanny as I looked into it and did the deep dive. as how the development of money and the development of metaphor, plot, character, fiction, they actually went in lockstep with each other. And I smelled something. I was like, I'm on the right track here. Something is going on here in terms of how people develop stories, think about the universe. And of course, the greatest story, the greatest fiction, the greatest metaphor, the most powerful metaphor we've ever come up with is money.
I wanted to ask a question about that. I didn't know that you were an English professor. I was an English major, and I see an inordinate number of money managers who are English majors. Do you think it's because we recognize the stuff that you're talking about as a group?
Well, it's also very traditional. It's traditional in the sense that, the Nicholas Biddle, the infamous president of the Second Bank of the United States, he was a literary man. And it used to be that they went together. They were much more closely entwined. And I think that's because of the education system. I think, everybody went, they learned their Latin, their Greek, they learned their Bible, and so they came out, they were good writers, they were good orators. And then who were the bankers? You'd have to choose among this, pretty much in this, Europe, this elite of white male bankers, and that's where they came from.
I think we can just agree to end the interview there. English majors rule the world. We rock, and we're done.
We're done.
You call these ghost stories.
Yeah, because money is a ghost story. If you look at your dollar, dollar is a typical example. Of course, most of our dollars we don't even see, like ghosts. It's only something like 5% of all the money in the world is actually in physical form. The rest is kind of ghostly emanations that we see flickering before us. But if we actually just, hold that single in our hand and we look at it, we look at all these symbols on it and the pyramid and the eye, what is going on here? And clearly this piece of paper is possessed by a power. Right? We know on a certain level, it's just a piece of paper. And in fact, that is the truth. There is nothing, quote unquote, underlying it. There's no underlying value except, of course, a story. That story is called Full Faith and Credit of the United States. What's interesting is if you look back at pre-market economies, right, and you go back before money is basically a unit of account and an element of exchange, you see that even to a greater extent that those anthropologists and ethnographers who really studied primitive money in the 19th century, they came up, obviously skulls of ancestors, bones, teeth, amulets, ropes, all these strange things, jars, all of these things were money, and many of them are possessed. So in other words, in primitive wedding rituals, the primitive money is like a jar. It's really strange. You can stand in for the groom at weddings. And the gong money of Vietnam, it sings. The money actually has a voice. Money talks. Well, that's where it comes from. So these inanimate objects are possessed by some power. What power is that? That's what we want money to be. That's the story we tell about money. What that power is supposed to be is good fortune, good luck, security for the future.
I was surprised and hadn't thought about, when you talk about pre-monetary societies, the importance of the bead. Like this idea that a bead we created at some point, somebody said, hey, we're going to create this little thing and it's going to hold a bunch of power.
Yeah, there's about 60,000 years ago. And of course, that's the thing, is they're not pre-monetary, they're pre-market. Because the idea of money is so deeply embedded in us. It's so embedded in our brains. When we first started making metaphors, seeing the world in symbolic terms, that's where the money is. And these beads are very famously found in Kenya on the coastal region. They're about 60,000 years old, and they're the first beads, and they are made from ostrich eggshells, and they are all kind of marked in these strange ways. And obviously they were held next to your body, and they performed the function of money. They gave you status. They were the kind of thing that kept you safe going forward in the future. How did that happen? I spent a lot of time talking about the ostrich eggshell and ostriches, ancient African ostriches in the book, and their relationship to the first money. We can go down that rabbit hole if you like.
Don't you think it's weird where your research takes you? Because even as you were talking about that, I was wondering, during the time of beads, were there even counterfeiters then? Like, was there some guy, Roy, who's over counterfeiting beads over on the beach?
Yeah, that would be a tough conjecture. That is hard to know. But of course, what is so interesting in that regard, the bead the form of the bead, of course, which is the little circle with the hole in the middle, eventually becomes the world's first reserve currency in the form of the seashell, the snail shell currency called the cowrie. And that's reserve currency from Africa to Asia. And of course, when the Europeans land in the New World, the natives are trading wampum. And what is wampum? Those are beads. They're strung beads from shells, from mussel shells in the Americas. And of course, the first Americans, when they get here, they forgot to bring enough money, is one of the things they forgot. And so immediately they ran out. And so immediately, what do they start doing? They start counterfeiting wampum. In fact, yes, it's like, well, what are we going to do for money? And you can pay Harvard tuition in wampum.
Wow. I mean, if we could do that today, I don't know what the exchange rate is now for wampum anymore. But
well, as recently as about 122 years ago, that's 1898 in Togoland, the exchange rate was something like 28,000 shells for a golden German mark. Well, it's not too long ago.
But I think about that German mark, and I think about how that German mark or Spanish money, as Europeans came to the quote New World, they usually had a king or queen's head on it, right? Where did the personification of money come from?
Really early, almost from the beginning, we have money, as I said earlier, money which has a figure on it, and also money which can sing and speak and dance and do all these things. But really, when we get coinage, which is about 500 to 600 BC, that actually emerges the first precious metal coinage, because there had been non-precious metal coinage in Asia, but that, of course, those coins had a hole in the middle. Yeah. We see that what we would recognize as a modern precious metal coin about 500, 600 BC in the Peloponnese, right around the same moment as the birth of tragedy. And so it's very interesting to think that somehow these images of people on this, stamped, that can then, make them epic figures, but then within 20 or 30 years just be melted down and reminted with somebody else. In fact, that is kind of the essence of tragedy, these great figures who are then melted into nothingness and go away. It's so interesting that the person on the money, we think, obviously, it's not personification. Obviously, money is money. But when Queen Victoria died in the 19th century, many people in England refused to accept money with her portrait on it because it was dead. It was dead money. It no longer, quote unquote, counted. And of course, why do we have so much trouble in this country getting Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill? We don't want it. The person matters. The person matters. Why are Sacagawea dollars, right? Or Susan B. Anthony dollars? A lot of them, there are millions and millions, but we don't want to circulate them. We immediately just kind of stored them and collected them. So obviously there's a very strong sense of who is the person who is depicted on that money. And then if we consider it money, what makes the moneyness of money?
I was just thinking about that. We would give Sacagaweas or Susan B. Anthony's as gifts because they were, they were treasured because they had these special pictures on them.
And of course, there's a big difference between the gift and the money. Right. Money is different than a gift. It's slightly different. And of course, when we do look at pre-market economies, there are areas of similarity, but they have gone their separate ways today. And that kind of money has been relegated to the form of gifts. So interesting.
I have something. I'm going to see if I can make you sweat a little bit, Fred. I know it's been a little while since you finished the book. You're talking about it with a bunch of people. There's a ton of stories in this book. This book is all about the relationship between stories and money. But I'm going to say a few names, and I want to see how many stories you can conjure up about these people. And we're not counting the stories, but if you tell us a story about each of these names, so. And if you don't, then I don't know. Maybe we'll play for points.
How many paths? Yeah, I can pass.
That's right. All right. So let's start here. What story does this name conjure up? Adam Smith.
Well, of course, Adam Smith is the greatest and first of the modern economists. And he came up with one of the greatest stories of all time, and really metaphors of all time, the invisible hand of the market. And it's something that the bankers, they just believe it's true. It's a story, and it's a poetic figure, the invisible hand. And it certainly was true in 1776 when he first published The Wealth of Nations. It had come out of this environment of shopkeepers in England where everybody was in competition and labor and capital were working in this particular way. So, of course, that's how it seemed to him. But then the problem is, of course, what a lot of people don't realize about Adam Smith is that he then projected backwards into the origins of money and said, right, this invisible hand, this market economy was always there. And so there was a barter economy before there was a coin-based modern money economy. And this has been roundly disproved by all of the scholars of pre-market economies. Everywhere on earth, they've gone to all the primitive economies they found. Never do they find a barter economy. You only find them in post-market economies, such as wartime economies of great scarcity, or, of course, prison economies. It's like candy, razor blades, cigarettes, drugs.
Are you saying that Adam Smith might have been peddling some fake news?
I'm saying Adam Smith is a poet. I'm saying he joins those list of literary people. And in fact, he was a literary man above and beyond anything else. That doesn't mean he wasn't a great economist.
He also, my understanding, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, I think he was kind of like Lady Gaga. He was very popular at the time, wasn't he?
He was an extremely popular professor at the University of Edinburgh, which was the one of the great centers of learning at the time. And many Americans went there to learn from him. That's one of the reasons why the Scottish Enlightenment, which he was a part of, is so essential to American development. But really, think about the economists today. What do we look for them for? To see into the future, to be soothsayers, to let us know what to expect. That's the ancient position of the poet in society. It's still the same thing. They just call themselves something else. But they are the poets, the soothsayers, the dreamers, those who can tell us the future. Why do we talk to our banker? We want to know how the market's gonna do.
Well, it's funny you say that because as you're talking, I'm thinking about a story you tell in the book, which is about the 2007, 2008 crisis, about how, this crisis wasn't fundamental as much as it was stories upon stories upon stories upon stories about how the market's supposed to act. And then when we have AIG starting to fail, really, we were questioning these basic assumptions we had about money.
Well, also the whole notion of insurance is actually is one of the classic pre-market manifestations of money. An insurance company, what do? They're in the business of telling lots of different stories, lots of different plots with lots of different endings, and then considering liability, positive and negative, and costing them out for the future. And of course, AIG was the reason, the start of the failure, because all those stories that they'd packed above stories collapsed. And we can see this. We can see insurance playing a part in the commercial revolution of the medieval period, where we saw the first insurance companies and the first limited liability companies. Insurance, we can push even farther back to those prehistoric beads and wampum worn on your body as forms to limit your liability, to keep you safe as you walked through the journey of life.
You walk through many ways where money's shadow shines. And in the second or third chapter of the book, you talk about some of the sexist ways that we've seen money. So my next question, I'm going to say the name Anna Nicole Smith. Tell me that story.
So Anna Nicole Smith became famous in the 1980s and 1990s because she had come from nothing. She had grown up in the classic trailer park and had become a Playboy model, and then married a guy named J. Howard Marshall, who was I think he was 98 years old and about 6 months away from death. And she became known as the proverbial trophy wife. It's kind of a tragic story. She was a failed trophy wife in that she did not get all the remuneration she probably deserves for having married this dude. But it really got me thinking about this notion of the trophy wife, which became so current in the 1980s, and where that had come from. And I tried to go back to the origins of the word trophy, and I started looking at concubines and wives as currency. And it's rather unsettling. It is rather unsettling how long and how enduring has been the idea underlying the notion that women can be used as currency, and that weddings themselves reenact in metaphorical form what was in many thousands of years before then, probably a much more transactional approach to women's bodies.
Yeah, just bodies as currency was something that I had never considered. So far you're 2 for 2. Just let you know how you're doing. Nice job.
And so far I'm sweating. I'm so sweating.
And I know, of course, we have some science fiction nerds. I'm a science fiction nerd. Frank Herbert and, well, you know what? Let's give you 2 names because these 2 are intertwined in your book. Frank Herbert and Craig Wright.
Yeah, well, so Craig Wright, I'm sure all of our listeners know that Craig Wright supposedly gave himself a pseudonym, Satoshi Nakamoto, and thus was the creator of the Bitcoin. In 2009, of course, we have the first 50, the original batch, the Genesis batch, 50 Bitcoin in 2009. And then supposedly the last batch of Bitcoin will be released in 2140. So he kind of said, supposedly Craig Wright, Satoshi Nakamoto, who knows what it was. But Craig Wright has taken credit for this. Frank Herbert was his favorite author. He was the science fiction author of the book Dune, soon to be a major motion picture.
I know. Again.
That's right. And he was in love with mythology. I mean, people think, who's Craig Wright? Is he some sort of just wonkish computer guy? Yes, he is. But he is also deeply embedded in the notions of ancient mythology and how, for instance, mythological characters always carry with them some sort of sign, amulet, insignia to get them through the labyrinth of their life. And this is precisely, you could say, similar or parallel to the algorithms of Bitcoin. There are a lot of ways of looking at Bitcoin. You can look at it as the list of the blockchain technology, which has its own money history, the algorithm and the encoded nature of it, the invisible nature of it, and the idea of farming it. All of these are deeply embedded in archaic notions of money. And so he was really onto something, as is obvious by the success of his product.
I also love the idea of, from Frank Herbert, that it's this spice, which really is the monetary system in Dune. And what does it allow you to do? It allows you to tell the future, which everybody, as you said earlier, Fred, everybody's trying to use money to kind of predict the future, make it okay, ensure the future.
And I think in this regard, I think people forget, for instance, that many things that we take for granted were originally much holier, right? The priests could tell the future, but think about the farmer. Because remember, for many years and still today, grain, the farmer, grain is cash. You can basically, the derivatives market is grain and livestock. And so for many thousands of years, grain and livestock are themselves money. What does a farmer do? A farmer programs the future with the harness, with the way that they're programming their grains, their domestic stock. Some they keep, some they kill, they plant. In other words, think about the birth of farming about 10,000 years ago. Before then, we have a lot of these groups that are moving around, these quote unquote hunter-gathering groups. Imagine you're just kind of traipsing around, following the seasons, looking for berries, and some dude over there is like, "Yeah, I'm not walking anywhere. I'm staying right here. I got my money right here. I got my security. I got my land. I got 18 wives, 14 cattle." And they were like, "Whoa, where'd you get that power from, dude?" And it's like, "Well, I'm also a priest. I got a main line to God who can," exactly. And that was the money.
It's so powerful. You tied up everything there, the sexism, the sustainability, the direct connection to God, all in one spot. Nice flex there, Fred.
I'm trying to fit.
You were 3 for 3, by the way. Nice work on your own book. The book is called The Money Plot, A History of Currency's Power to Enchant, Control, and Manipulate. And I had so much fun with it. By the way, those are 3 stories of hundreds of stories. The research that went into, I can't imagine the research that went into this. Well, actually, what I thought was funny, I'm usually done researching a book and just casually, I look at the acknowledgments at the end of this book, and how this book even got made, Fred, I thought was pretty funny. So it all started in a literary agent's office. Tell me that story.
Yeah, I had done this book about the commodification of food. That'd been my previous book, Bet the Farm. And so that's how I kind of learned all about how futures markets worked and derivatives markets. And so I spent a lot of time in this. And I started pitching to my agent, "Oh, I have this great book. It's going to be about the commodification of water, even better than food." These and she completely was like, I don't like it. And I had been preparing for like 8 months for this pitch. And it was like, no.
And then you're like, how about timber? Timber.
Right, exactly. How about fish? Right. I'm pitching madly and getting nowhere with her. And finally, literally in utter frustration, about an hour into this meeting, I just take out my wallet, grab all the money and throw it on the table. And she looks at me and I say, there's money. I say, you think people can relate to that? Is that good enough for you? And she says to me, what's the chapter outline? Oh my God. Like, okay, good. Yeah, that was 7 years ago. I have never worked so long and so hard on a book as this one.
Well, and you can see it in the proof. Congratulations on a job well done. The Money Plot available everywhere, I assume?
Everywhere.
Awesome. Fred Kaufman, thanks for hanging out with us and talking money stories for a little bit. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Stackers, I'm your pal, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And I can't stop dancing because today's National Techno Day. Who doesn't love to get down to a sick beat? Well, this whole thing's got my brain wondering, how come you don't think great music when you're listening to financial podcasts? I mean, imagine if Dave Ramsey threw in a little heavy metal interlude from time to time. Yeah, that'd bring him in, and maybe I'd start this revolution right here, because three things everyone loves are music, personal finance, and of course, leftover mashed potatoes. You thought I was going to say me, didn't you? Oh, I'm far too handsome and modest to make a statement like that. So, yeah, I think it's time to step this show up a notch or 7. But before my big first musical number, let's monologue today's trivia. Music's big money. Duh. Heck, the American music industry is worth $20 billion. And since it's National Techno Day, let's lay this beat on you. If I decide to take this podcast to the next level and add some tunes, what's the most listened to genre of music in the United States? I'll be back with your answer faster than you can get jiggy with it.
I'm grateful this year for a lot of relationships, and it's a year like this where things are so weird. And it felt like, did you get your Spotify list, OG, about what you listened to last year?
Yeah.
The last 12 months. I love that. I love the final card when they told me all the different groups that I listened to and all the different types of music I listened to. At the end, it said, thank you for spending the 35 months that were 2020 with us.
I didn't see that.
Which was great. But during that time, I learned how happy I was that I really dug into Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn like I do and OG does from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn how to cook from Gordon Ramsay. You can learn about influence with negotiating with Chris Voss. You can learn about advertising, about communication with Robin Roberts. There are so many great courses at Masterclass, and they're so well done with over 90 of them from a range of world-class instructors. The thing you've always wanted to do, well, it's closer than you think. I'll tell you what I've done a lot is when I break for lunch, I take my laptop out, OG, and while I'm eating lunch, I will watch a piece of a Masterclass. And because most of them are 10 minutes long, and then there's some homework that you can do for every one of those, it just gives me this little spark of creativity midway through the day. And I especially love that when I'm in the weeds on some topic that I'm kind of frustrated with. Backs me out of that. I'm refreshed and inspired and ready to face the second half of the day. I think you're going to love it too once you check it out. As a stacker, you're going to get an annual membership to Masterclass, and you can give one to somebody else for free. So here's what you do. I thought about this. For the holidays, tell somebody that you love them and you got the Masterclass, OG, and don't tell them that you also got yourself Masterclass. Or actually, maybe you should, so that you and somebody you like can take the classes together and talk through it. Get unlimited access to every Masterclass for you and a friend right now. Just go to masterclass.com/stacking. That's masterclass.com/stacking. You think that's amazing? You want to hear something else amazing? You pay your credit cards off every month. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year automatically with no limit on how much you can earn. How amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing because of all the places where Discover's accepted. 99% of the places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen report. Limitations apply.
Hey, music fans, I'm your new favorite musical DJ, Dougie Fresh, and we're going to liven up this show with some sick beats. Check it. Life insurance, life insurance, life insurance, life insurance. Hey, life insurance. Oh my God, it's great, right? It's great. Oh, wait, how about this? Go shorty, it's your payday. Go shorty, it's your payday. We're going party like your payday. Gonna invest like it's your payday. Oh my God, it's so easy. I mean, it's just so good. Or how about this classic? She got funds and it seems to me she should invest them in a 401k and everything returns at 8%. Oh my God, I didn't even know I was that amazing. I'm amazing. But this might be my favorite. Tommy used to work on the docks. Union's been on strike, but he's got an emergency fund, so he's fine. You know, just like when the animals start making all that noise at that super fancy rainforest cafe, doesn't adding tunes make the whole financial experience better? Today's question was all about that moolah people are making in the music industry. If I decide to go big and want the musical genre that will deliver my biggest chance of success, what's the most listened to type of music in the U.S.? Coming in third at 14% of all music listened to, it's rock. And in second, at 20%, it's pop. But our big winner at 22% is hip-hop. I gotta remember that when I'm writing my songs. See ya!
Hip-hop.
Huh. All right.
How about that? 22%.
It's like the return of my 401k this month.
Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun to put together a record of like music that's kind of, to Doug's point, riffs on popular songs, but with musical?
I like this idea. I feel like there's something to it, so we should work on that.
We totally should work on that.
I think we get Bon Jovi to like reword everything for us.
Do we go up to him and we say, excuse me, Bon?
Slight change.
Bon, I'm wondering if you would help us out.
Between him, the dude from U2, and who's the guy with the funny glasses from Europe? Supposed to go on tour?
Elton John?
Yeah, there you go. There's probably enough catalog of stuff there.
Perfect. We're done. The dude with the funny glasses. And I know you were talking about Elton John. You were talking about the other guy, but I can't remember his name. He's like the most popular dude this year, and I have no idea what his name is. I saw it was the most downloaded album. His album was the most downloaded album on Spotify.
Huh.
Gonna swing and a miss. Yeah. Big thanks to Fred Kaufman and this idea, OG, that different things being currencies. Obviously, the whole women as currency discussion just makes your stomach turn. But also, you know, did you give your kids, or do you give your kids special types of money, silver dollars?
No, they get actually worthless money. They get dad bucks because they were losing it. They didn't have an appreciation for it. And it would tick me off when they would get money for their birthday or something. And I'd say, hey, what happened to that $20? I go, I don't know. And I was like, the heck with this, man. We're going to keep the real money and you guys are going to get fake money. And then you can still feel the pain of losing the fake money, but at least it's not real pain, right? Like it doesn't tick me off. Our medium of exchange in the household, we were toying with like creating it into a crypto, but it was just easier to print off a whole bunch of fake money. So it's like Monopoly money. So my kid buys a video game and he comes down with his fake money and pays me with it. And if he loses it, he loses it. It's up to him.
Kids ever try to counterfeit the fake money?
They did find the stash. There's a small stash of dad bucks squirreled away.
The Treasury Department.
It's the Treasury Department, yeah. Yeah. So they did find that. I cannot confirm whether or not any was stolen. I have no idea. I did not keep very good inventory. I did not keep track of my, what is that? The M2, the money supply. I did not keep track of the money supply, but I could always issue more of it to drive inflation down, or I guess that would be driving inflation up, actually.
I can see the OG Nation's beige book report for next quarter.
Yeah. We've decided to increase interest rates to a whopping 11%, up from 0. Looks like chores only pay $6 now, not $8. Sorry.
Apparently, we've flooded the monetary system.
We should. Yeah.
Flooded the market. I just love Fred's stories. Nice job. And you can always tell it's good when Mom comes down and sits there with you and I listening to the interview.
She was just doing laundry, I think, dude.
I always want to turn it into she's a big fan of the show. And you and I both know that she could care less. Sadly. Someday she'll listen to the show. Hey, let's throw out the Haven Lifeline, OG, and tackle some of life's most important questions. Our friends at Haven Life Insurance Agency put what you value first.
We are making Christmas cookies like out of control in the OG household right now. So we're doing Christmas wreaths. We've got church windows. We've got Biscoff cookies with the like peanut butter blossoms, but you make it with Biscoff instead. For those of you who are a year behind on that, just Google that. Life altering. Biscoff instead, life altering. I know I say it every year.
Well, I'll tell you what I like.
I know, not pumpkin pie. We got it.
I love pumpkin pie.
Oh, backtrack. Beep.
I totally love that. I love apple pie more. And I got to choose one when I cheated on my diet. Jesse, I'm sorry I cheated on my diet. But I was going to do it with apple pie before I did it with pumpkin pie.
You would. Communist.
But the thing that I feel bad for you with the peanut allergy in the family, but I do like the fact that you don't get to get any of the Chex Mix, but for that reason. Like you've got to chow down on Chex Mix here, but when you go home, you're not able to take any with you, which means more for me and Doug every year.
It doesn't hurt my feelings because like you abhor pumpkin pie. I also have a small disdain for Chex Mix. Yes.
Are you kidding me?
It's like pretzels and cereal. Like I can eat that crap any day, man.
And nuts with a crap load of garlic and salt like baked into it.
Huh. Oh, so you bake it? I didn't even know. Yes. I just thought you threw it in a bowl and.
No, it's all baked with garlic and salt and oh my goodness. Oh, it's so good.
Huh.
In fact, one time my brother just showed up and Mom had, you know how she keeps it in that big, huge tin. So she's got this big tin of Chex Mix. Tony grabs the Chex Mix, opens it up and you could see the smell of garlic was so strong. He opens it up. It goes right up his nose. He sneezes right into the Chex Mix.
You guys just mixed it in, didn't you?
Oh, no. Claimed it for his fucking own. Nobody else would have it. Totally made it his. It was like marking his territory. We were so pissed that year. That was a long time ago.
Nice. There's a lot of beeps that are going to happen. That just happened in that story.
A lot of beeps. It's actually your loved ones and your time. It says here.
And Chex Mix.
And Chex Mix, yes. Why they made buying quality term life insurance actually simple. You got better things to do this time of year. So go to stackingbenjamins.com, Haven Life. You'll get a free quote quickly. You'll also find that the application's super simple. You get through it fast. You get an instant coverage decision. They have affordable prices and their policies are issued by their parent company, Mass Mutual, which is more than 160 years old. Today, we're going to throw out the lifeline to our new friend, Matt. Say hello, Matt.
Hey there, Joe and OG. It's Matt. Just came in from washing the old El Camino after stopping by the Sizzler for some Doug 2024 buttons. I have a question I'm hoping you can help with. The question is in regards to the 4% rule of thumb. As I understand it, the 4% rule of thumb states that you can safely draw down on your nest egg to the tune of 4% per year and not run out of money over a 30-year period in most scenarios. In order to not run out of money, does the 4% rule of thumb require you to adjust your spending based on your current nest egg? In other words, if you start out with $1 million, you could withdraw $40,000 per year at 4%. However, if your portfolio drops to $600,000, Does the new safe withdrawal rate need to drop to 4%, 600,000, or is it still the original $40,000 amount? I don't expect to learn anything, but maybe you can ask Paula, Len, or even neighbor Doug from help. My size is extra large, just like my guns. See ya.
Well, Doug, why don't you take that one for us?
Yeah, come on, Doug. Matt's asking. No, Matt, don't go upstairs. Matt's asking you.
That's Doug's answer.
Matt, I guess we'll take this one, even though you probably won't learn a thing. But I will say that using the 4% rule before you hand this over to the expert OG, using the 4% rule anyway, I think is a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a mistake per se. I think it gives you a really good understanding of like where you're at if you're close. Like if you're going, hey, I need 40 grand a year to live on, what should be my number? It's probably close to $1 million. You know, if you're at 250, you're not close, right? If you're at $1.5 million, you're pretty good, right? You're overfunded. You can look this up. This is the Trinity study. There's been some modifications to that this year from the guy who originally wrote it, and some other people have some opinions about it. But the long and the short of it is, yes, it's 4% of the initial amount plus inflation. So you missed that component of it. And no, it wouldn't adjust back down to that 4% number. That's accounting for the fact that there's going to be some ups and downs. Because obviously if you take 4% out of $1 million and then all of a sudden your account value is 500,000, you take 4% out of it, and then your account value is 100,000, you take 4% out of it, it will last indefinitely. It's like if you keep on taking only 4%, right? Like it will always last. But and
you're consistently living on less money and less money.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the, how long does taking 4% out of a declining thing work? If every time it declines, I adjust down to the new 4%, it lasts forever. So this actually said, hey, for 30 years in most trials, if you were 50-50, 60-40 stock, fixed income allocation, you could take 40,000 in the first year and adjust it for inflation in every subsequent period, every year. So basically have that rising cost or that rising withdrawal and still have a strong likelihood of having the money available after the 30th year. So yeah, I agree that there's way better ways to calculate this and model this out. But if you're just kind of finger in the wind guesstimating and saying, hey, I need 40 grand a year, give or take what's my number, and you're at about $1 million, I think you're probably pretty close. If you're at like 500,000, you probably have some work to do. If you're at $1.5 million, probably overfunded, you can spend a little bit more. But it shouldn't result in too much of a change in terms of spending as the volatility of the portfolio kicks in. So nearly there.
Thanks for that question. And by the way, the reason I called it a mistake was because of the fact that rule kind of blows in the wind. I just think that figuring out how much you need to live on and then looking at interest rates that you think you can beat for your portfolio, that's probably a better way, OG. That's what I meant by mistake.
Well, and stuff just changes. You're going to spend a little bit more earlier in retirement than you do later. I mean, this all assumes like just a very static type of lifestyle, but that's not the case. What happens if this year you have higher medical costs, or next year you have a home repair project, or the year after that you want to help your grandkids out with college? Like you just go, well, sorry, 41,200. That's what I'm allowed. No, your life ebbs and flows, and so should your investment outcomes based on the needs that you have. Like I said, I think it's a really good starting point, and then you should do some more work after that.
Thanks for the question, Matt. If you've got a question, send those our way, Joe at StackyBenjamins.com. And by the way, something that we're super excited to do, but sadly, I think it's going to be after the new year. We're going to get back to doing some all questions episodes.
Letters episodes.
Yes. Very, very, very fun episodes. All your questions. So bring them. Bring them. All right, that's going to do it for today. Big thanks not just to Matt and to Fred and to Sean, and obviously Doug's going to also say thanks to all those people. But thanks to all of you for hanging out with us today. If you know somebody who would enjoy hearing a guy like Fred Kaufman, maybe tell them about today's show. Bring another stacker to the basement. There's always room for a third, OG.
Yeah, do that. That's a good idea. Send some people our way for once, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Why are we getting mad? I have no idea.
I don't know. It seemed like you were mad, so I was just trying to match the emotion.
Yeah, not quite that.
You're mad because you're standing, and I've taken a seat.
I know, which is kind of weird because your head's barely over the desk. So thanks to everybody for hanging out.
I'm just a little guy.
Coming up on Friday's the anniversary of Bernie Madoff being arrested. So we're going to talk about how to avoid scams. So join us then. Doug, you've got it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
So, what should we have learned today? First, take a lesson from Sean Hanft from FSAstore.com and spend that FSA money before it's too late. Second, take a lesson from Fred Kaufman. An economic philosophy, just like a social, political, or religious philosophy, only works as long as we believe the story it tells. A dollar without full faith and credit is a failed dollar. But the big takeaway, even if you don't have my album yet, that should not stop you from dropping a beat. Oh yeah. Come on. Ha. Ow. Ha. Come on. Yeah. I'm getting dizzy. I'm moving so fast. Ow. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Special thanks to Fred Kaufman for joining Joe today to discuss his book, The Money Plot, A History of Currency's Power to Enchant, Control, and Manipulate. We will have a link on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. This show is created by Joe Saul-Sehy, produced by Taylor Stevens, and engineered by the amazing Steve Stewart. Online, visit us on Twitter at SBenjaminsCast or on our Facebook page. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and it appears I've fallen and I can't get up. SB Podcasts may receive payment on the show from sponsors and guests in the form of books, giveaway items, discounts, or other remunerations. That's a big word. There's no way you take advice from these dorks, but like Joe's mom always says, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and before making any financial decisions, consult with a real financial advisor. And thanks to Craftamt, it's Kraftamt. Thanks to those guys for providing our sweet techno tunes at the end of the show. That great song? Yeah, it was called Erdfall. I don't know what that means either.
Here, when it comes to the holidays, I posted to our basement Facebook group. By the way, you can join us at facebook.com. Actually, you know what? Best thing to do is either put in Stacking Benjamin's Basement at the Facebook search engine or go to
Google.
Yes.
The Googler on Facebook.
Yes. Or stackingbenjamins.com/basement. Cause it's I think it's facebook.com/Joe's Mom's Basement or something. But anyway, so we just crossed 5,000 people.
If you can't get in there, you don't belong.
That's true. We just crossed 5,000 people who joined us in the basement. Not the world's biggest group, which I like. The other thing I like is that a lot of people telling some dad jokes.
But you'd also like it if it was the world's biggest Facebook group. So it's kind of a juxtaposed position.
I don't think I would, because I belong to a couple of those groups and I often want to poke my eye out. So I kind of like the fact
Second biggest?
Okay, maybe third.
All right.
But only if we can monetize it for advertisers.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, Geico.
Do you want to sponsor a Facebook page? The NASCAR.
Pass. I don't really care about that. That was a joke, peeps.
There's a couple inches of space on this car. We can put a sticker there, right?
Hey, guys, bundling your car insurance with your homeowners. Let's have a discuss. Everybody discuss. No. And I was wondering, our friend Dave Fulchek, who's also been on the show, I asked him about this. And it was a video I saw of a sommelier trying out wines that you buy from BJ's, Trader Joe's, Costco, one other place I'd never heard of, Lumi, I think it was called, Lumi.
I bought wine at Costco before. I mean, you got to cook with something.
Oh, and Target. So compared to all these, wines, and by the way, Target wines won.
I guess some people do buy wine at Target.
Here's the thing. When we had events in Detroit, the first time that I had an event, somebody told me, they said, the Kirkland wines at Costco,
they're every bit as good as the good stuff from Napa.
No, they didn't say that. But what they said is, listen, if you're standing around with a bunch of people who don't care what they're drinking, it isn't offensive, right? So everybody's drinking wine out of a Solo cup, right? In your kitchen or hanging out in your backyard. Why?
What kind of heathen serves wine in a Solo cup?
You've never drank wine. I drank wine in a.
Is there another glass of wine? Yeah, it's in the fridge. You just open the little tap thing. There's a box. You can't miss it.
I'm going to throw Andy Hill under the bus here. I went over to Andy Hill's house just before I moved. We had a small socially distanced get together where we said goodbye to a few people. Sorry, we couldn't say goodbye to everybody if you're in Detroit, and I knew you and you weren't there, but we said goodbye to a few people that we worked with a lot. And also Paula was driving through town, and Andy had one sitting, dude, right on the corner. It was a box. It was a box of wine. And I got to tell you, we had a lot of fun, Mr.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't buy wine in a box. But actually, that's not true. I do get wine in a box, but it's usually filled with wine. Like it's a box of bottles of wine.
Box of bottles of wine. Right.
Yeah.
So the hot thing in wine now. So by the way, Target won. Charles Shaw, $2 Chuck came in last. And I think Costco seemed to be second. She didn't list them all, but I think Costco was number 2.
But to be fair, they're comparing it against all these other grocery store wines.
They are.
It's not like here. So this is Target against. Scarecrow.
It's Target against Costco against Trader Joe's wine. Like it's less than $10 wines. Which one wins?
Yeah.
And it was actually funny. The woman,
they all lose.
The sommelier, whenever she would taste test, she'd do the cheek thing, the thing. Yeah. And then she like looks up for a second, and then she looks
screw on cap.
She looks right at the camera with one, and she said, "This one has hints of barnyard."
It tastes like it was mass produced in steel vats. And it,
you are such a snob. You are such a snob.
It's ridiculous. I love, like the exquisite sound it makes when you unscrew the cap. You can tell it's going to be a good wine.
If you buy a Shiraz, they're all going to be a screw cap.
Okay.
You just don't drink Shiraz because Shiraz is below you too. Like if it's not from Bordeaux, if it's not Rothschild, I am not going near that thing.
I may have some Rothschild wines in my wine fridge. I may, but I don't like Bordeaux wine. I don't
either.
Yeah. I don't like Italian Bordeaux's.
No.
Napa Cabs or Napa Pinots.
Did you say Italian Bordeaux's?
Sorry, French Bordeaux's. What's that? I don't like Italian. Yeah. See, that's how much I don't like them. Countries.
You might as well say Austrian Bordeaux's.
G'day, Mike.
I don't think that means what you think it means.
What's the Italian equivalent of a red wine?
Oh, I like the Chiantis and the Super Tuscans.
No, there's another name for it that I can't think of.
Sangiovese?
Maybe. I don't know.
I love
like Barolo.
I love
something.
Barolos.
No.
You know what the key with a Barolo is, though? You got to leave it open for a long time before you drink it, and then it's just fantastic. But if you open it and pour it like you do, you're going to hate it.
I don't do that.
I know. I just gotta.
I'm planning the wine. I'm planning the wine before the meal. Yeah, if we open this at 3, everybody gets here.
You do though. When I took my wine class with the Barolo, you got to open it an hour before dinner.
Yeah, at least probably.
Yeah, I told you about that going to Italy and the first time Autumn could drink.
Oh, you didn't tell me about going to Italy. Tell me about.
Yeah,
this.
I tell you, I went to Italy. So it's our first
before or after Southeast Asia, or before or after Bavaria.
Before both of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that far back in history. So Autumn at that time was not yet 21. I think she was 19, but she's legal in Italy. So the first night at this hotel that we're staying at with Adventures by Disney, we are, which by the way, just unbelievable hotels, and talk about 14 bags of money for a trip. Still the best trip I've ever taken, but we stayed in these beautiful places. And so Autumn and I are super excited about her being able to drink. And Cheryl's like, you know what? You guys have fun. It's our first night here. I'm tired from the flight. I'm going to bed. So she goes to bed. Autumn and I go to the hotel bar. You should always know when the prices are not on the drinks. They're just the drink.
Yeah.
What you're getting into. So,
you have to ask. You don't have.
And we're on one of the 7 hills over. I mean, this is, there's Rome and then there's the 7 hills, and we are in this hotel overlooking Rome. The Vatican is not that far from us. And, yeah. So I look at, she's like, Dad, what should I drink? And I look and I see an appletini. I'm like, oh, okay. Somebody having one of their first alcoholic drinks.
Absolutely. Her first, probably.
Yeah. I'm sure. And then she downs it in one.
She's like, what else?
I remember,
like in not Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation, where he gives the kid his son a beer and he like chugs it.
I remember doing that with my dad. I came home from Michigan State. My dad's like, want to have a beer? And I can tell that he's like, yeah, we're gonna have a beer together. And I was thirsty and I totally chugged it. And when I got done, when I figured out that I should look over at my dad, and my dad is just staring at me, shorrified.
You take the beer can, you poke a hole in the bottom and crack the top. You're like, next.
Just shotgun the whole thing. Oh yeah.
You start doing a handstand. You're like,
come on, Dad.
What are you doing, son? Is this not how you drink beer? I know this is how I drink beer at college.
It would have been worse if he were paying for college. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm learning. She gets an appletini. I see Barolo. I go, hell yeah. I have a Barolo. She has an appletini. And we decide to have a second one.
Ooh, living on the edge.
Yes.
2 hotel drinks. Oh my God.
So we finished the second one, get the bill. And by the way, the next day, Autumn was hungover.
Money, so it doesn't even matter.
That's right. It's all fake money.
You're like 6,000 lira deal.
I remember getting a hotel bill for something in Vietnam, and their currency's the dong. It was $1 million.
Yeah, you're like, whatever. You people at American Express figure this out. I'm good for it.
I'm like, all of a sudden I have financial independence. I have 6 million dong in my wallet. Turns out that's $18. But hey, it's great. So I get the bill. My Barolos were 50 euros each. 50. So I lean in because it's the first night of this trip. And I said to my daughter, we have that rule that we don't lie to mom. And she goes, yeah. Like, where the hell is this going? And I go, here's the deal. We don't need to lie, but we also don't need to bring this up. Like, let's just, if we want to have a great trip, I know that if Cheryl finds out that I spent $100 on 2 drinks on the first day of the trip, that the rest of the trip is not going to go that well. So let's just kind of ease into it. She's like, okay. I told that story to Cheryl later, and she's like, I can't believe you're telling your daughter a lie. I'm like, I totally didn't say the lie. I just said, might not want to bring it up.
And Autumn's like, no problem, but I'm getting another one of these.
Yeah. The bribery began then. Hey, Dad, remember those Barolos? Really liking this Italian fashion over here.
Did I tell you I like shoes?